Hello, how are you all? Thank you for watching. Britney Spears released a memoir a few days ago. It's already one of the best-selling celebrity memoirs. Did I get it? Yes, I did get it. And I finished it, so I'm going to give you an honest review. First, a lot of it really broke my heart. I saw one review of it that said it was bleak and angry. I don't know if I would use the term bleak, but it definitely, you could tell she was very angry in parts of this. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the timing of the release. She got out of her conservatorship a few years ago, so I do think she's still going through a lot of healing and going through a lot of anger. It to me is something that I think every young girl should read because it almost reads as a cautionary tale. It reads to the realities and the evils that can be in the entertainment industry. Britney Spears, when she was coming up, I sort of grew up with her. I remember when Baby One More Time first came out, and she was seen by all girls to have it all. Everyone wanted to be Britney Spears. She was the most famous pop star in the world. She was beautiful, traveled, all of those things. Seemingly on the outside, people thought she had it all. And a sad reality of Britney's life is that I almost think she didn't have a chance. She became famous really, really young. Her Baby One More Time, I believe she was 16 when that came out. So she had immense fame from a really young age. And even before that, she was in show business and worked pretty hard. And I think she's just a girl that was very trusting, very naive, very obedient. And I hate even using the term naive. I feel like that has a negative connotation. I don't mean it in a bad way. And I think a lot of people in her life, whether it was her family later on, boyfriends, relationships early on, or just people around her, I think she got exploited a lot and used a lot. And that's sort of an undertone throughout the entire book. So let's get to the book. One more story. Actually, I remember I was listening to a man tell a story about Britney Spears, and she was still a teenager. I think it was her second or third music video. He was a producer or some kind of professional on that set. And I remember him saying, he goes, I saw her coming in, this little tiny young girl, and not only was she recording this video, she had two separate, just entire camera crews following her around everywhere on two separate shows. And he goes, I felt so bad for her. And the reason he felt bad, normally you would think, oh, that's awesome, she's getting noticed, her career is taking off. But he knew how the industry could be, and he knew that she was just so young and so innocent. So I do think it's a really actually important book for young girls to read. Also, there are Britney conspiracy theorists, and they are adamant. They are adamant that she did not write the book. Well, I think she wrote the book. I do. Now, obviously, she could have had a ghostwriter. She could have had, obviously, it went through tons of edits. I'm sure she had people interview her, help her bring up certain things, help her organize it. And again, they go through tons and tons of edits. She even says it's either the beginning or the end, she even mentions her team that helped her on this book. And that's normal. Every celebrity does. But I actually think she wrote it. A lot of it really sounds like her language if you read other things she writes or the way that she talks. So I do. That doesn't mean it didn't go through a lot of edits and she had a lot of help. But I do think that she wrote it. And it makes sense because if you followed her on Instagram, she would have these random rants on her Instagram sort of going back in time. And it kind of makes sense if she was writing this the whole time. Now, first, it was, so it starts out sort of chronologically. She starts from when she was a kid, describing in great detail her childhood, her relationship with some of her family, the problems that they had. She did go into her dad having issues with alcohol when they were younger and her parents fighting. She went into the Mickey Mouse days and gave a lot of details there. She also gave a lot of details early on in her career and her relationship with Justin. We know the bombshells that already came out when she gave up the child, how he broke up with her via text, and that he also was guilty of cheating and stuff like that. That whole part was very, very sad, because it does seem at the end of their relationship, he really took advantage of her fame and creating this narrative around her, sort of making her the villain. And it looks like, yeah, he didn't come out of that book looking too good. And oops, he had to turn off his, I guess, comments and canceling gigs. I don't know. But it didn't make him look very good. I will say that. I don't think that was good for him. So she goes into that, a few of her other relationships, a few of the major times that were in the media where maybe she just tells her side of the story. And it does seem like that was a theme throughout the book. She's taking parts that were in the media that a lot of people had questions about, that she never really, I guess, told her side. So that was kind of interesting. I think she knew a lot of the areas where people had questions, and she went into her side of that story. One of the major things was the head shaving incident, where she really goes into detail about where she was in her head at that time and what had been going on. I believe she just lost her aunt. Her kids were taken away. So it was a really bad time for her. I also wanted to bring something up too, and this goes back to my original point that I think a lot of young girls should read this book. It reads as a cautionary tale. She says that one of the reasons she felt so fed up and did the head shaving thing, one, she was being followed around by the paparazzi so much. She was like, you want a show? I'll give you a show. And also she said it was her way of rebelling, because everyone had been so obsessed with her looks. She's getting interviewed when she was younger, and everyone was just obsessed with her body and her looks and asking weird questions. And that did in fact happen. I'm going to play this clip that started going viral when moments of her book were being leaked. This is one of the early leaks that came out, and I do believe she was still a teenager. And this was not odd. This was how she was interviewed a lot. But look at this interview and just how young she was, and the question this interviewer is asking her.
There's one subject we didn't discuss. Mm-hmm. What was that? Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breasts.
You seem to get furious when a talk show host comes up with this subject. Okay, in general, what do you think about breast implants, just in general?
Well, I think if that's what you want to do and that would make you happy, then I see nothing wrong with it. But I haven't done that. But I think it's sad that people, think I've done that, because that makes them want to go out. And, some of the fans that look up to me, they either think bad of me or they may want to go out and do that. But that's not my fault, because the press started that. But
exactly.
If you want to do that, that's fine. But I personally wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Although she did reveal a lot, especially in the earlier days, I do feel there were a lot of things kept out, which, again, that's not abnormal for someone to do, and you should have things that are just for you. You don't owe anyone all of anything, but it did feel like a bit of a contrast from before the conservatorship to after. So once she got out of the conservatorship, some of the details or some of the things just didn't feel totally right. And there was a major life event that happened after she finished this book that's obviously not in the book, and that's her divorce with her husband, Sam. Now, she talks about when they met and how in love she was with him and how he really helped her during this time and how they wanted to have kids. She did go into, she lost another baby, so she did go into that. But I do feel like a lot of the details were left out. She goes over the wedding, but doesn't really go into details about that. And we know some things happened there. Just a few things that I felt were left out or details weren't in there. And I think some of that is normal too, because this is more present. I think when you're talking about things in the past, you're able to separate yourself from it more and really go into the details that maybe hurt or maybe you're working through at the time. So I kind of think that there should be a part two. Also, she's still healing. So there is an angry undertone in a lot of this and little jabs here and there, and obviously that's because she's still healing, she's still going through things. But I would love to see what she has to say a few more years from now, when she's healed from the conservatorship, when she finally is moving on for good, because we know that a lot of things happen and people still have questions. But I think it's a good book. I think it's a cautionary tale. It is pretty angry. Yeah, I think some things were left out, and I think sometimes you have to legally leave things out as well. But I do think, there's been so many questions for so long. Even before she was in her conservatorship, she was with personal details that people had questions about for so many years. She did stay silent. So I'm glad that she got to speak for herself. And some people didn't like that she had put an older picture on the front of it. You know why I think she did that? This is also why some people think she didn't write the book. I think she did that because I think this is one of the last periods of time that she felt really good about her career, on top of her game, and free. And that's the thing. Do you cage someone up just to keep them safe from themselves in a little bubble, or do you let them be free, take risks, which is, I guess, what we all do every single day? Would you rather be safe and in a bubble, or free with the risks that come with it? But anyway, good cautionary tale. So there's that, and that is what I think of the book, The Woman in Me. Thank you for watching. Bye.